I let me put on the timer. 7 minutes. Quick! Fly!
Maybe kitten and a black.
Kitten?
Pot. A green pot. Let's see if the and a pat.
We had one here.
Maybe we need to. Yeah, because we need to fight 2 pirates. Yeah, but look, the birds are all used up. There's a cockroach in there too.
Yeah.
And there, right next to those people. Robots.
Cockroach.
Cockroach. He's in the middle of nowhere.
Right, let's. Where's the way out?
That's the gate.
Ah. Ah. Copy. Items in. Copy.
How do we get that guy?
Yeah.
What is he doing? Yeah. I get that robot. Oh, I move your bum. I shall move it. Move your bum. Hi, move your bum. Move your bummy bum bum.
Oh, someone.
Yeah, it's a blue robot. Oh, no. The blue robot got that. We got good many people.
Yep.
Got too many people. Goody. Goody, 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 goody. Goody, 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 goody. Goodies. Goody.
Yeah. Face. Oh no. They're gonna come. Ready? Oh, no one coming.
Then my might come round. That might. No.
Now.
Why the summer come? Are they coming or not?
Yeah, not supposed to be cooked. Don't cook. Wait. Oh, that's not the. Before. And it's good cooking skill. This guy is supposed. I am really confused here. I. Now.
But that's a smaller one. That is a bigger one. We got that one and that one and that one. We got a wooden robot. A wooden robot.
Little robot.
Put that away. That thing. I'll show you. Where is the wooden one? Where is he? That's my. Get out.
Get out!
Let's just get out of that. Let's get out of.
Ow!
Let's get out of to the. Let's get out of the guy. That guy.
Try to upright it. Right, and
That's the mobile robot.
time up. I do. Let's do one battle, yeah. This planet is colonized by an advanced civilization. Traveler. Meet the locals. Hooray! Free travelers. Fly out mission in cruise in gold. Love free without any specific goal other than discovering the generous local to my journey. Getting no, not that.
more fire yet?
One hex some. I go get bed ready and then yeah. Yep.
How did those arrows get? Also, so those
Those. Ooh, that can be. Yeah.
can use close.
And skill can be.
Ah. Don't do that. Linda. Don't do it.
All right. Where are we now?
I'm in the Dyson.
Who is the net in line?
Is it the what?
Guy.
It's that guy, the blue one. Now.
Buddy. It's I'm gonna put out fire. This guy.
Where is the fire?
Oh, we need to find this skill to put fire there. Alright.
Tick, tick, tick. Tick, 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 tick. That.
E.
It's on the alphabet. T.
Oh yes. Sun. T.
T. Look at the cat. Thank you, Daddy. Which one is Chosijo? Which one is Chosijo?
I got.
No, the top one's Chosijo.
Yeah, chopper.
I saw him. Away. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no,
Let's
no.
go.
Gonna go. Go, go, go. Go to the... Choo.
Russian. Lifeless. And it. Oh, so. Oh.
It's gray. It's
What's your-
gray.
Okay. Air damage. You can.
So, do you want to get the red one? The red one. Do you want to get the red one? Does it only do?
What the fuck? Yeah, what do you say?
Does it only? Oh, yeah. We should get that one soon.
What is?
We do got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And do it.
Yeah. How does Kane feel in that area? Is he pretty good? Yeah. Yeah.
Jacob, you got to sit still. I can't do this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop doing it. Can't go. Fine. Okay. There. the asset.
Yellow.
I didn't move over to. You touched it. Oh.
Huh?
T-
Stay over here. Let's stay over here. Alright?
No, how about I go on?
Trying to see it.
Yeah. I'm listening.
Okay.
And that's good done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jacob. Too high. Where'd you go?
Oh no, oh. That's not for kids. That's not for kiddies.
Look. New engine.
Oh. Hooray. Can't.
Hey.
Right. 1 years ago we now.
You don't want to stay here? Finish? Are we finished?
Oh, I will go again.
Yeah. Just. Yeah.
Go to the gas.
Alright.
Yay!
Yeah. Yeah. That's all. And what? Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's It's yeah, well, it's a big attack.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
You can pick one more then. Which one do you? Okay. All the time. And do you? You guys it.
Say,
Right.
I'm gonna say,
I want ambushes.
yeah.
They're funny
An
me.
eventful.
We only shooting guy.
He got that one. He only got one there. And him too. There. Ah! Excuse me.
Q. Done.
Who they shooting at?
Oh no.
What the? Oh!
Oh, the miss. Good. Come on, somebody, please do something.
No! Don't shoot us! No! No! Not again. That is flat.
Skill.
They shot it! We got one.
On good.
Oh, Grace. Squish. One more shoot. Eat.
Boom.
It shoot too often.
Yeah, take that.
They're shooting.
That again.
Again.
Easy. Yes. Wow. Extremely easy. Ready? Did not break a sweat. Huh. Right, bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on. Oh. Bring it on. Alright, done.
Where are we
Go.
gonna go?
Go to the station.
Let's go there.
Stop here. Back tomorrow, yeah? Okay?
No, let's go Can you get that quick too? Go back to the go back out the wall. Go there. There. No, ouch, there. You wanna go there and see what we
Right,
get?
and then we stop, yeah?
Yeah, and go back there.
I feel we'll go. We can only go one way. And,
Oh no!
What are you doing?
Oh, that's right.
One
Chuck
piece of me?
it. Chuck it. Let's say chuck.
Should we leave or should we fight? Leave?
I'll
Sure.
fight.
Fight. Them?
I'm sure that will work.
Oh dear! Look at this humongous
Shit.
ship.
It's bigger than ours.
Big,
Maybe we shouldn't fight them.
now.
I don't want to say goodbye to our ship. I don't want to.
This ship.
Bye bye, Alice.
See, we give it a go first.
So what can we do?
Do everything we can.
No, that will get us. Oh, let me see that go. See that go, Daddy. See that rocket go.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Oh, there are two both.
Hey, boom.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that's it. Easily go last seat. Well, have a good night. Drive safely. Yeah.
Awesome, this is so good. I like it.
Yeah,
High
I
five.
like that. I like our ship.
No.
It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Me
Isn't
too.
it?
Bye.
I'm done now. Thank you, buddy. Oh. We're gonna land here. Large.
Let's see what we're gonna get. What?
What we get, yeah. That.
Matter.
Tomatoes, yes.
Yes,
Tomatoes.
I knew we got.
We're done. Alright, that's it.
Let's go back there.
Let's go back there. That's it. The time had passed. The time went off before long ago. Let us stop this. Stop lại with your Uzi. Ta đẹp không? Play with your Uzi.